Okay, Deadly Tarantula Girl, coming to you from my inside studio today. I'm doing another Google Live Hangout with the beautiful, the amazing Brittney Gobble. And for those of you who are wondering what's going on with my head, my spirit had arrived. So I'm so excited. I'll tell you guys about that, but not right now. So, Brittney Gobble is super duper amazing. Let me just give you a little background on this lady. She is a famous cat breeder. She breeds some of the most interesting cats. One that I've loved for so long. She breeds the Savannah cats, which are a African Serval domestic cat hybrid. She's going to tell us about that. She also, if I'm not mistaken, created a new breed of domestic cat called the Lykoi. And now she is a major up and comer in the ball python game, which of course is how I kind of discovered her, came upon her. So, good afternoon, Brittany.
Oh,
How are you doing today?
doing good. Doing good.
Awesome. So, you guys are in Sweetwater, is that right?
Yes, it's like a little country town in the middle of nowhere.
That's awesome. Do you like being in the middle of nowhere?
Absolutely. I don't like people.
A true animal person.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so Brittany, so on in addition to being an amazing animal breeder, she's also a model and a photographer, and her photography is out of this world. It's so incredible. So tell us a little bit about your family and kind of a little bit about your background.
Well, I've loved animals obviously since when I was little. And I told my mom, she said, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I'm going to be rich." And she said, "What?" And because I never cared about money. And she said, "Well, what does being rich mean?" And I said, "It means that I can have lots of animals." So I accomplished my goals. I have my own zoo. I fell in love with my veterinarian. So I married my veterinarian. And we have three kids now, 11, 7, and 5.
Wow.
Then, of course, we have a huge zoo of
Yes.
just, um, we have our Arctic fox. We have 4 dogs. We have about 12 cats. And, of course, the ball pythons, leopard geckos, bearded dragons, tarantulas. We have 2 of those. So, yeah, we have quite the zoo.
So you have an Arctic fox?
Yes, a live
Uh,
one.
ooh, tell me about that.
I've kind of like I've loved the foxes forever. And we decided a few years back that we had some free time to handle an exotic. And there's a breeder in Indiana who's been breeding them for about 30 years. So I went up there and he's adorable. His name is Faux, Faux. Because for a while I made teddy bears and I posted one online and I only used the faux fur.
Hmm.
And I said in the little listing that it was made with faux fur. And this woman came on and she was like an internet warrior and she said, "How dare you take that faux fur? It needed that." And I was like, "Oh, that's it." So like 3 months later, I brought him home and I'm like, "His name is Faux."
For the record, all spirit hoods are made from faux fur, which for those of you who want to know what a faux is, that means fake. It's not made from living animal fur.
Yes. Oh. Anyways,
Wow.
he's so happy. I mean, he's kind of like having a dog, but they're a lot more agile and get into stuff like cats. So he's funny.
How long have you had him?
I think 2.5 years.
So now, is he socialized like a domestic pet, or does he kind of have to live outdoors and do his own thing?
Technically, the only domesticated foxes are the Russian foxes because they did a breeding program and bred them specifically for pets. But
Hmm.
they're extremely expensive and extremely hard to get out of Russia.
Yeah.
So I think it's like something like $10,000 or something
Oh,
by the time I ordered it and everything. But
wow.
the gentleman has been working with his bloodlines for 30 years. So while they're not technically domesticated, he has bred for personality so much that honestly, I've done a lot of photography at our local shelter for little puppies, feral puppies, and
Yeah.
stuff. And the fox is way more socialized and sweet and everything than those puppies or kittens. So there's
Wow.
definitely not like having a wild fox, but technically he's still a wild animal
Right, of course, yeah.
that loves belly rubs.
That's so sweet. I'd love to see some pictures of him and stuff.
I'll tag you in some.
Awesome. Okay, we've got a couple people who are watching. We've got Reptile, WV, Richard Wolf, SMK, What's Next, Dave Mack, Richard Wolf. They're all saying, beautiful ladies, what's up? So interesting. Oh yeah. So a couple of people are watching us and they're excited about you, Brittany. Um, Viewers, if any of you guys have questions for Brittany, of course, if you're on the live, type it up in the little chat box. And if you are watching this post live, still leave your comments. And Brittany and I are chatting on the regular now. We're Facebook friends. I actually discovered her because, so this is a funny story, and I've never shared this with you, but obviously we are, always on YouTube and kind of seeing who's doing what. And I can't remember for the life of me now who it was, but somebody posted an expo video and there was a ball python that everybody was coveting and they were just like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful, a crazy price tag. So whoever it was that was filming was just drooling over it. They did a quick loop around the show, came back, and they were like, they had said like, oh man, if only I had, I don't know, $10,000 to buy that right now. What, it was a crazy price tag. He comes back, there's little Brit. She's just buying it. And everybody was just like, who is this woman? And so you're pretty new to the reptile scene, and I hadn't heard of you prior to that. And so of course I was like, who is this girl? And so of course I heard you on Snakes and the Fat Man after that,
Isn't
which
he?
that was when I was first kind of discovering Chris Eaton, who, ay, Chris, I love you. You are too funny. That man keeps me laughing. We text every day and he is just hilarious. So anybody who's not listening to Snakes and the Fat Man yet, get on there. Also, I listen to Sean Bradley's podcast, but now that he is kind of shifting from reptiles to aquatics, he has ended his podcast, but he does still have a lot of podcasts that are already published that people can listen to. So for good reptile podcasts, check out Chris Eaton and Sean Bradley, especially if you kind of like that a little bit of salty humor. They're untamed, I'll say that. So that was how I first discovered Brittany. So yeah, tell me a little bit about what was your first exotic animal and when did you get into cats?
Okay, so I have been breeding cats for over 10 years now. And like I said, my husband's a vet, and I had picked out our perfect cat. And it was going to be a rag doll, and it was going to have big blue eyes and all this hair. And my husband comes home from work, and he says, I found our perfect cat. And I said, please don't be the alien cat. Please don't be the alien cat. And of course, it was the Sphinx, the alien cat.
Yes.
And he was dead set we were going to get him. And he brought them home, and he didn't bring home one, he brought home 3.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, surprise. So we had those, but then they're so sweet. I don't know if you've like ever got to pet one. But
I haven't gotten to touch one.
Okay, they feel like a warm peach, and they are they don't feel like the other body part that a lot of people want to compare them to. Okay. So anyways, he brought that home, and he brought him home, and within a week I was in love with him, and I was looking for my first one. So that kind of went from there, and I got very, very excited about showing. He drugged me to a show, and I said, no, don't make me hang out with those crazy cat people. And then my cat did so well, and she got 2 best in shows, and I was hooked. So for the next several years, we worked very hard. We did an outcross program because Sphinx do have a lot of health issues. So we wanted to, I don't know, are you still there? I don't know if I'm supposed to keep talking or...
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're both back. So you were
Okay.
saying that your cat did really well in show.
Yes, and so I was hooked, and we built a program from there. We brought in some cats from Russia and built an outcross program. And as we were doing that, we were showing. I was traveling like twice a month, and so then the Lykoi. You kind of mentioned the Lykoi, which are the werewolf cats.
Yes.
They popped up in a shelter, and a lady named Patty Thomas, she's a Sphinx breeder in Virginia, she got them. But they thought maybe they were Sphinx because
Uh-huh.
are born fully coated, and then as they grow, the hair completely falls out, and then as the hair grows back in, it comes in with that roan coloration.
Hmm.
And so she got them. The shelter thought maybe she could take care of them since they were Sphinx and didn't know what was going on. Then we realized they weren't Sphinx, but there was a lot of health testing that needed to be done and test matings, and that's very expensive if you're going to do it
Of
correctly.
course.
And so she talked to us, and we agreed to co-own the cats with her. And my husband would, start sending out the DNA samples and all this other stuff.
Right.
So we did all the health testing, took them to university. I mean, any test that the cat could go through. And again, this is all painless. It did not cause any discomfort for the animal. It was saliva tests and things like that. They're perfectly healthy. They just had a freak gene. So at that point, we decided we had the two from Virginia, brother and sister. And then a pair of cats got put on Craigslist in Nashville, Tennessee, which is about 3 hours from me, as half possum, half Sphinx cats. And so I was like, okay, I can roll with that. So I went and got them. We did all the same testing. They looked very similar. So we did a test mating between the two. And the first kitten, it was a single baby that was alive in the litter. And she was fully coated. Well, at that time, we didn't know that Lykoi were born fully coated and lost
Right.
it. So we thought, well, maybe it was a dominant gene and we missed the odds. Maybe it's not a gene at all. And then about 10 days in, boom, its hair just falls out. We're like, oh.
Wow.
So that was really neat. And so from there, we built an outcross program. So we took domestics, just, your normal healthy barn cat, and crossed it because it was recessive. And then made, in the cat world, you call them F1s because they're gene carriers. In the snake world, they're hets.
Right.
They were for the Lykoi gene. And we kind of just went from there, creating a program to keep the inbreeding to zero or very, very, very low. And as time went on, these cats continued to pop up. I went to Arizona, California, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, did a trip to Vermont, because the gene apparently just pops up in feral colonies, and it has been popping up for about 20 years. But the problem was because they kind of look mangy, a lot of people assumed they were sick and just judged them based on their appearance, and they were being euthanized.
Oh, wow.
Once we got them and figured out that they're healthy, there's nothing wrong, now this breed is known worldwide and it's celebrated, and which is really cool. And then the domestics that got used, quite a few of those were Craigslist throwaways, or even we had a couple shelters that we worked with that made the agreement as long as we bred them once, did all the health testing, spayed and neutered, whatever we needed to do, and then found them a really good home where we could follow the health, that we could have one litter. So those were cats that were actually going to be euthanized for being adults at the time when there was just too many kittens. And because we took them in and found them great homes, they got a second chance. So we call the Lykois like the second chance breed because throwaways, and now they're like known around the world.
Oh, that's amazing. That's kind of like sort of like the kitty story of Anastasia, the little street girl who found out she was a princess. But I think the true story was the girl didn't turn out to be Anastasia in the real historical version. But
we like it though. It sounds so much better.
Go with the Disney one or whatever that was. Well, that's amazing. So you're the actual founder of the breed, and I love, of course, that you did it so responsibly and so ethically, because at least in our area, which we're in kind of a rural area in New Mexico, there's a huge problem with, I don't know what people would call like backyard breeding, where it's dogs and cats everywhere. We are overrun with Chihuahuas, Pit Bulls, German Shepherds, and people who are not necessarily, breeding for quality, but just, to turn a couple of bucks And obviously homelessness and health issues are major. They run rampant.
Yes.
And so the cats and dogs that we have are primarily rescues. We had an Argentinian Mastiff years back that was a rescue, and we loved him so much. Ultimately, we lost him to cancer, and a few years later, our hearts had a big hole that we wanted another large dog, and I had always wanted an English Mastiff. And so we looked for about a year and found a breeder it was a nice little family. They bred their dogs twice and then spayed and neutered. And it just felt like the right fit. I emailed back and forth with the lady for 3 or 4 weeks, and finally she just said, I almost want to give you one of my puppies, she said, because you've been the absolute most conscientious person so far that's even inquired. She said, everyone wants to know, how big's it going to get? Is it papered? Just kind of like the basic, I want a trophy animal question.
Yes.
And she said, I'll drive it to you. I'll do whatever. I really want you to have one of my puppies. And the fact that she said, I like to keep in touch through the lifetime of the pet. So I can so we became Facebook friends, and still my dog's 7 years old now. That is a dog that we looked for and purchased. Yeah. But other than that, all of our dogs and cats have been rescues, and that's throughout my lifetime what I've done. So I always, when people are dog and cat breeders, because there are so many dog and cats, I always kind of prick my ears up to hear sort of what they're doing. And I love what you do. So the Savannah cats, are you still doing those?
Yes, the Savannahs, we started those a couple of years ago. After we got the Lykoi to be a fully accepted breed in TICA, the International Cat Association, that was kind of like a big goal. We like to set goals and then try to, see if we can make a challenge for ourselves. And we said, well, what's something we wanted to do? And I absolutely love African Servals.
Yes.
And, what better challenge than to see if you can make a hybrid? And which they're just great. I mean, Servals are not for everybody. So if somebody's listening and they want one, you do have to be prepared for them. They are large. Some of them make wonderful house pets, but a lot of times they don't.
Right.
Like, for instance, mine will always pee in the litter box and never poop in the litter box. And Serval poop is the size of dog poop. So, don't think you're just going to get this cat and it's like, oh, it's going to magically use the litter box. It may or it may not.
Right.
And then they're basically like a cat with, its normal cat attitude. So one day my Serval will be hanging on my leg, drooling all over my pants and my shoes. And the next day he's giving me the cold shoulder and he'll hiss at me if I look at him. But then they were best friends again. So it's just, again, I think sometimes people see pictures on Instagram and think it's this perfect animal, and it is still owning an exotic. It's incredible bond, but yeah.
The Serval, the African Serval cats are not a domesticated cat. The domesticated cats are the hybrid. And so do you sell F1s, F2s, F3s? Do you do the whole thing?
I just do the F1s. So I just go to the domestic and make the 50% hybrid, basically. There's a lot of breeders that are doing wonderful things with the other generations. And again, I wanted to have the big cat.
Like to go for the gold.
Yeah. And they're a pain, but they're so much fun. I mean, and they're so big. One of my last litters, my F1 girl went to the Philippines to a friend there. And she had it playing with her Serval, and they were the same age. And the F1 was almost as big as the Serval.
Wow.
So some big kitties.
Do they vary a lot in size and markings, the F1s?
The Savannahs, the F1s do. Not so much in the markings. Now the colors, like you can get silver or that gold color. You can't really get the black because that's an extremely rare thing for a Serval to carry melanistic. And Serval, because they have that spotting pattern. All F1s are going to have that spotted pattern, the same as the parent, regardless of what the mom is. Now, in our case, I don't know if you've seen the photos, We did do something a little different. We imported a female cat from overseas that has odd eyes.
Oh.
And that a lot of people see white cats with odd eyes or
Uh-huh.
blue. And then you see Siamese cats that have blue eyes, which that's a recessive gene. And that recessive gene, a Siamese cat would basically be a black cat with
Right.
if it didn't have that blue-eyed gene. But this gene is actually a dominant gene, and it doesn't affect the coat color. So you can have a black cat, a solid pitch black cat with blue eyes or odd eyes with this gene.
Wow.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, we imported this girl, and she bred my Serval. In fact, that's he just loves her to death. I mean, Servals are so picky about who they love, but he loves her.
Oh.
And she bred him, and last year she had 2 kittens that both had blue eyes. So I made the first blue-eyed F1 Savannahs in the world.
Wow.
So that was pretty exciting.
So, for those who are like, "Ooh, these sound awesome. I want one." Are there any drawbacks? Well, obviously, probably to keeping Savannahs, but what about to Lykois? Do they take extra care? And I know that they're they've got a pretty hefty price tag.
In the pedigree world, the Lykoi are a little more expensive than some of the pedigree. So a Lykoi is usually around $1,800. Sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little more. It does depend on the breeder and the area and all that kind of thing. The Lykoi do not require as much care, because usually what I get asked is, do they require as much care as a Sphinx? They do not. Sphinx do require a lot more care. The Lykoi, I typically only bathe mine when they need it. So maybe before a show, maybe every 6 months, when they molt, because they don't keep that hair pattern all the time. The hair is constantly changing. When they molt and they're more naked, they do produce a little bit more oil. So you might have to bathe them more. Typically, the main thing with the Lykoi is you have to keep the ears clean, because since they don't have as much hair to distribute the oils away from the ears and the nail bases, it will collect on the nails and the ears. So you take a Q-tip to clean it.
Okay.
But typically not. Now, the funny thing about Lykoi is their skin is very light sensitive. So within just a few hours of sunbathing in a window, your cat will go from having pink skin to have black skin. And it doesn't affect them. It doesn't hurt them. But they freckle and they get like liver spots on them. Every time I have families adopt kittens, like in the fall, come spring, I get a whole bunch of panicked messages like, what happened to my cat? And I'm like, it's totally cool. It's either or it's reacted to the heat of like laying on an Xbox or a laptop, and they'll get whatever touches the.
Wow.
But yeah, they're pretty easy.
Awesome. And so I know the F1 Savannahs still go for quite a bit. What are the price ranges in those, and how can people contact you about getting or looking at maybe your kitties?
The Savannah price tags for the F1s, because again, the F1s are that largest generation. And the other thing real quick, let me say, because a lot of people are like, well, why does an F1 cost more than a Serval? So an actual full-blooded Serval is typically around $5,000. That's for the big kitty. Now those aren't legal in every state. F1s aren't even legal in every state. It does depend, but F1s are legal in more states than a Serval.
Right.
But the F1s hybrids are really hard to make. For instance, the male Serval may not breed. Sometimes they won't breed a domestic. They just for whatever reason they don't recognize it. Sometimes they will only breed one cat. So it's like that one cat and no other cat.
Right.
And the other challenge that you have, now I haven't experienced this one, but I've heard that they're prone to miscarriages. The they're carrying. I haven't had that happen, but I've heard that is something, and it does make it more frustrating. And then the main issue that we have found and other breeders talk about is the gestation period. So a cat is approximately 10 days shorter than an African Serval's gestation, which means when those F1 kittens are born, they're actually premature. And it doesn't affect their organs or anything like that, but because they're premature, they're tiny, and some don't make it. So you're dealing with a big cat, and big cats that are intact tend to have a little more attitude. My male likes to spray, and when a cat that's 35 to 40 pounds is spraying, that's a lot of spray.
Right.
So anyways, that's one reason why an F1 does cost more than a Serval. There is quite a bit that,
Yeah, they're more difficult. I mean, they're a far rarer animal.
Yes. So typically an F1 is 10,000 to 15,000. Now F1 males are sterile, so all F1 males cannot produce. And I haven't experienced this personally, but during research and talking to other breeders, a few people have told me that they become fertile around the 4th generation. Other breeders have told me that's incorrect and that those people are lying and they're not fertile until the 5th or 6th generation. So
I would imagine it may vary sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe that does happen in some circumstances and other not.
Yeah, I think so too. But the problem is most people don't want to keep a kitty, especially a male, that long just to see if it may or may not.
Right.
And then with cats, it's not as easy as dogs. With dogs, you could collect a sample very easily and just have your vet check. Cats, you can't actually collect a sample from unless you take them to some specialty universities where they put them to sleep and they have like electrodes that stimulate it. So it's a very expensive, very So it's not as easy as just being like, okay, let's just see if he has swimmers in a few months,
Right. Interesting. So, you obviously became very successful in the cat world. What turned you on to reptiles? That's kind of a big jump.
Okay, so 2 things. One, we've actually owned snakes for about 13 years together. But I was petrified of snakes. Like, snakes were my phobia. And I would have, like, even as an adult, would have, like, these night fright things where I would think a snake was in bed and I'd wake up screaming bloody murder. So things approach to fear. This is like, I'm not a fearful person. I've scuba dove with sharks in the ocean. I've bungee jumped. I'll do just about anything. But I was like, no, not so cool with the snakes. So he said, well, we're going to overcome your fear. So he went and bought a snake and put it in our bedroom. And I was like, okay, so she's kind of cool. And then he started hanging out at a local store that sold both fish and snakes. And I fell in love with the snake there. And I was like, he's so calm and sweet. It wasn't like what I had always, the movies make them out to be.
Right.
So I kind of fell in love with them from there. Then we got busy, and we still have our first girl, the one he put in our bedroom, Delilah. And
so was that a ball python?
No, it was a milk snake.
Okay.
So I didn't have a ball python. So we had those. Then we got into the cats, and that of course kept me very busy. And I was traveling. I mean, I went to Austria and like just all over the place for the cats.
Right.
But the cat world is very, very dramatic, and
they're kind of catty.
Yes. You have no idea how much. And I went in like this naive, we're all going to be friends. And we were not all friends. And so I had, like some depression and some issues with some online bullying and that kind of thing. And I decided that for me, it was best to start distancing myself for my happiness. But I love genetics. I absolutely just love learning and love genetics. And so I got leopard geckos, and this was about 2 years ago. I was so excited. That was my first kind of getting into reptiles as a collection versus just an individual.
Right.
And then from there, I kind of talked my husband into the Hognose. And so then we had the Hognose, and so we still have both. And I was on Wharf Market, and it's funny because you talked about the video about who bought that snake.
Yes.
And it was Miguel Garcia that did it. And he did the video. I was up in Canada at CRBE, and he did the video there. He's like, you're the one that bought him. And I'm like, yes. And that's my snake, and his name is Unicorn. And I don't care how stupid it is, because I was scrolling Wharf Market, and we were watching TV. And I said, I really wish that like hognose and leopard geckos had all the colors that ball pythons do. They're just so beautiful. And as I was scrolling, I ran across that photo of the Banana Fire Freeway male. And I said, oh my goodness, this is the most beautiful snake. And I flipped my iPad around and showed my husband. And I said, it's like a unicorn. I bet it poops glitter. And I'm like, I have to have it. So it took me a little bit of work to talk my husband into needing ball pythons. But then he's just as hooked. I think he spends more time on Wharf Market than I do. But anyways, yeah. So we bought that boy, and that was my first ball python.
So how long ago was that?
That was last February.
Wow, you've come. Oh my gosh, crazy.
I'm not
And
new
you
to.
guys kind of went bananas since then. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I have just over 40, I think now. And so we bought the Banana Fire Freeway male and a couple girls to go with him. Then we bought a stranger female from Roland, I Res Reptiles.
Uh-huh.
Got that girl. And so then we started looking around some other projects. And of course, my husband was looking at it a little bit from an investment standpoint as
Right.
well.
That's wise, yeah.
Yeah, so we talked things over. And so now we have the monsoons. I have a male and female monsoon and 2 het female monsoons. And we have enhancer, let's see, what else do we have? Mandarin, and we have, I think he counted and there's something like 40 genes is how many we have now to play with.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about your goals as far as breeding. Now, I think that I've heard you say that you plan on kind of staying boutique. You don't
Yes.
want to have ever 1,000 ball pythons that are, where you have 500 gravid females. You guys want to stay small and focused, which I think is kind of the way to go at this point. So tell us about that.
Well, one of the other reasons we stepped back from the cats is I spent a lot of time, and cats are like daily, twice daily. You're checking, you're scooping litter boxes, and when you're keeping up an entire, outcross program and everything, that's a lot of cats,
right?
A lot of litter boxes, and I'm a bit of a neat freak, so I don't want to smell cat litter or go to the store and smell like the crazy cat lady.
Yeah.
So I was a bit obsessive. So we spent a lot of time on that. And we haven't been able to travel a whole lot because we have to be there constantly.
Of course.
So stepping back from that to be able to travel a little bit more in the next few years, and doing the ball pythons gives me the chance to have an animal that doesn't necessarily need me every day,
Right.
They still need a lot of care. So I'm not like, saying don't do that.
Of course.
All that kind of stuff. But it is a little bit easier to travel when you have reptiles versus a mammal that is there. So that's one of the reasons we want to stay small as well, is I'm very picky about who takes care of my animals, and I want to check them myself. So I want to make sure that for me, I can still travel without having to feel like I need full-time staff to come and take care of things. And then the other is, again, this is truly, yes, we did it from an investment standpoint. So we wanted to make wise choices on, what snakes we bought in our plans. But for us, we just we want to play with the genes and stuff, but it's not necessarily about like the profits. We have these projects that we love that we want to work on. And so we're trying to keep it small, keep room for the holdbacks, because of course, there's probably gonna be a lot of holdbacks. I picked mostly recessive things, which is a pain in the rear, but fun.
So basically, when you're breeding recessive genes, for those of you who are not super knowledgeable in the genetics, you often do not produce the animal that you're looking for in the first generation. So you've got to be very patient. The first generations that you produce are hets, and then you have to pair them up, grow them up, and pair them up in the future, which luckily ball pythons grow up in 2 or 3 years with proper care. And but it's definitely not instant gratification like those dominant genes. So what is it that really floats your boat? Do you like bright colors, high contrast? I mean, what is it that really catches your eye as far as ball python morphs?
It's the pattern. The crazier the pattern, the more pattern there is. Like, I love that. And then the bright colors. So like one of my ultimate snakes I just can't wait to make, which again, goes back to the recessive, is I want to make an enhancer monsoon. And for those who don't know, enhancer is of course I just like desert ghost. So the brightening. So it'll not touch the blacks. It'll leave the blacks nice and dark, but it'll, light the color up.
Right.
Like recessive. So not only do I have to do that, then I have to pray I hit the odds. But it'll be worth it. I love the challenge. So this is going back to challenge.
Well, that's awesome. So you guys think you have about 40 ball pythons right now?
Yeah, about 40 ball pythons, and then we have 9 hognose now. We just got a little leucistic hognose.
I saw her. Is it a girl?
The girl, yeah.
Yes, I was. Oh, did you name her?
I named her Vanellope Von Sweets from
That's cute.
She needed like a really lame name, you know. I don't normally go with the whole girly thing, but it's making me laugh to name my snakes. Like I've got a super banana inchy girl and her name's Cupcake. And my husband's like, "What's up with this weird thing you've got going on?"
That is too cute. No, and I think that, I think it's nice for people to see these beautiful, gentle snakes, especially with these little cutesy names, because we are still very much going against the grain as far as the reptile hobby is growing. It's
Yeah.
expanding, definitely. But the general public overall are either hate reptiles or fears them. And so I think it's really nice. I just realized I look totally naked. I am wearing a dress, guys. Um, yeah. So, you know, I just realized, no, people either hate or fear snakes. And so it's nice when we can show these beautiful, gentle animals. And especially if they have these little cutesy names, I think that that really kind of sort of helps people get over that stigma that they're bad, that they're evil, that they're dangerous. And I'm not saying that there are no snakes that are, won't hurt people, because there are some dangerous snakes out there. But, statistically, horses kill more people and dogs kill more people every year in the world than snakes do. I mean, even in Australia, even in India, where, there are cobras in human settlements and things like that, because it's just, reptiles are not the violent, frightening animals that a lot of people assume them to be. So I love that, especially as a female breeder, because it is truly you. I know your husband supports you, but that this is your project, this is your business. And I love that there aren't a lot of us ladies out here on the front lines. So tell us a little bit about being a female snake breeder.
Well, it's like you said, there's not many of us. That's why I was so excited when you found me. It's like, yeah, twins! It has actually been really cool. I mean, I'm not so much being the only female, but the community has been really welcoming and very nice. I got a lot of the reaction you got. Like, where did you come from? You just like,
Yeah.
we didn't hear you, and then now you're here.
Right.
But it's funny because when we go to like shows, or like just hanging out, or even people in our real life that meet us and they're like, "Oh, so what's your new hobby?" or "What are you all into now?" Because me and my husband,
right,
we'll say, "Oh, we're into snakes," and they immediately assume that they're his or that they're his idea. And yeah,
right.
he's totally into them. I mean, he's just as excited as me. But this was my thing that I wanted to do, and he was like, "Okay, I'm game." So it's kind of funny because you do see that there is a little bit of a stereotype. For lack of a better word, I'm not like a crazy feminist or anything like that, but
Right.
you do see that there is a little bit of a stereotype that they assume he must be the breeder or he must know more about the genetics, or that kind of thing, when they're mine.
Well, I think it's funny because there are still people that when they meet me, they kind of had the impression that I'm either an actress or that I'm just kind of like the face of the company or whatever. And even though in the videos I'm breeding, I'm getting bitten, I obviously am not just acting. This is
pretty
I mean,
fake.
I mean, this is me. This is what I do full time. Now, unlike you, my husband has an equal passion, and that we both are very, very passionate about reptiles. However, there are things that I'm more interested in, and that he's more interested in. He likes corn snakes quite a lot.
Yeah.
I like retics. I love retics.
I want one so bad.
Love them. Well, when we produce them, I'll send you some. I'll send you one. How about that?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm breeding my big girls now. I've got a girl that's about 17 feet and a girl that's about 19 feet.
Oh my
And They are crazy huge and strong. I love them so much. I'll send you one. I'll send you a retic. See what he has to say about that. Just kidding, guys. You don't send somebody a retic as a surprise. If she wants one, though, it's yours. Yeah. So your husband, what type of veterinarian? So I assume that he was not like an exotic vet or a reptile vet.
Yeah, he actually is an exotic vet.
Okay.
He's done a little bit of everything. That's actually how we met.
Oh.
He was my veterinarian, and I owned birds. And there wasn't a lot of bird vets in my area. And he was one of the few that did see them. And man, I made so many jokes about his last name because it wasn't my last name.
Yeah.
His name's Gobble, 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 Gobble. Yeah, I paid for that now.
There you go. That's karma for you.
Oh, I know. It was really horrible, too, because my mom's last name is Borscht. And nobody can spell that. And
Right.
I'm like, my maiden name was Robinson, which is like so easy. Nobody ever misspells that.
Right.
And I told her I'm going all American. And sure enough, the guys that kind of tried to date me was a Smith, a Jones, and a Russell. Like, you can't get more American.
Yeah.
And then I married Gobble. And yeah, so anyways, he was the bird vet. And so he saw my birds. And that's kind of how we ended up meeting and going from there. And he has seen not as many snakes. So when I first brought up the ball pythons, he's like, oh no, those are horrible eaters and they die. And the problem was, of course, that by the time the people bring him the animals, the snakes, they're so far gone by the time they notice that anything is that wrong.
Right,
that
of course.
It's very, very hard to save them at that point. Because ours are great eaters. He gets bit a lot. And I laugh about it.
Well, baby ball pythons can be little buggers. I got bitten Friday night, just a bunch of times. I'm not sure why. I got bitten twice by one corn snake, which I hardly ever get bitten. It was just like a weird night. And then I think the rest were all sand boas, and they just were like jumping up and biting me. And one was even really holding on. So my hand was all bloody. So I took a picture of it because that's like a no big deal, but it does bleed, and people love to see that. I don't know why. So I posted a picture of my bloody hand, and I was like, oh, and kind of joking about it. And so it was funny because yesterday somebody on Instagram or Facebook, maybe, I'm not sure, commented on one of my photos, and they said something like, I love you and I wish you weren't in pain and something. And I was like, that was weird. Like, okay. And then another guy said, like, I hope your wounds are healing. And I was like, oh my gosh, they think I'm like hurt from these little snake bites. And I was like, oh no, guys, like that was like, I already forgot that happened. That was like a sand boa bite or a ball python bite. Now a big, retic bites, like a big retic, baby retics, who cares? Yeah, a big retic bite, that one I probably wouldn't be brushing off so easily. But yeah, snakes from, little bites from ball pythons and stuff like that they're just cute.
Well, and it's surprising, honestly. Like when I had a ball python bite me, it was actually my stranger girl, and the breeder laughed, and he's like, oh yeah, they love to give kisses. And but it was more shock, like it was over and done with before.
Yeah, they strike and release so fast. I mean, it's no big deal at all. And people ask me, have you ever been bitten by a snake? And I'm like, of course I have. Who cares? Like, unless it's a gaboon viper, I'm not super worried. If it's a ball python or something, who cares?
Yeah. Oh, I tell people it's like so funny because now that I'm doing snakes, all these people are suddenly concerned for my well-being. Like, are they going to eat you? Are they going to bite you? And I'm like, you do realize that I worked with cats for 10 years and their bites were far more dangerous.
Oh, yes.
And they're not mean or anything.
Right.
I've done a lot of rescue, so I've taken a couple of bites. But still, it's like, no, you do realize that this is nothing compared to what kind of stuff I've done before.
Right. Well, and speaking of that, there's a big old frenzy on the media about, all these invasive reptiles in Florida that are killing the wildlife. And, it's interesting because if you read the actual statistical data, those populations are not really viable. Now, I'm not saying none of them are living and none of them are reproducing, but what I'm saying is they're not really making an impact on the environment negatively. The animal that is, though, is the domestic house cat. They have actually hunted many species of little sparrows and things like that to extinction because cats are descendants of predator animals and they like to hunt for hobby. And there's really no other animal that does that.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. But people just, like you said a minute ago, it's just the perception of the snakes. People have it in their mind that these are somehow evil or demonic, or the Bible says we shouldn't own them,
right?
Or just that whole thing. And it's funny because my photos, I'm sure you've seen some. So I've done like the candy shop, and
yes.
I get comments and private messages from people that are like, I don't like snakes, and I really hate that you're making me like them because you make them look like they're cute. And I kind of like them now. And I'm like, yes, that's a win.
That is so wonderful. Yes. Oh, so your photography. Now, obviously, I would assume that, well, first of all, you model and you're so beautiful and I love your photos. But also your photography, well, I would say, I don't know if you primarily, but you would use it to sell your animals. But can people do hire you to do photography, and do you sell your photography anywhere? Because it's beautiful.
Well, I did start, like you said, I took kitten photos. And
Uh-huh.
if you one of those personalities that, like, I have to try to improve myself,
Right.
I'm in a competition with myself to try to be a better me. So I started my photos of my kittens. And then it was like, well, I think I could do better. And then it kind of grew from there. And then a lot of people said, well, if you follow my photography, I tend to put animals in photo situations with props and stuff that you would typically see like newborn photographers of humans.
Right.
But mine are animals instead, so it's kind of a twist. So I've been doing photography since about 2011, and I just love it. Now, of course, I'm switching over to the reptiles, which is like making my brain have to rethink all my props and how to pose. I don't take on a lot of clients. I've had a few. But honestly, that my photography is one thing that I kind of set to the side as my stress reliever. It's my art form.
Uh-huh.
So I photograph a lot of my own animals. And if I'm intrigued by an animal, if it's somebody that I know that I really like their cat and I like the color of its eyes, or like their dog, and I've never photographed that dog breed before, then I'll take on those clients. I actually went to Florida and photographed a horse farm down there, and the lady, a trainer in Arabia.
Wow.
And so she comes back and forth, and she has like this top show horse, and I got to photograph him and photograph her other horses. So that was a lot of fun. Again, like, it's not something that I advertise that I do. It's just if I'm intrigued by it, and that kind of thing. And I have sold prints of my work. A lot of people like, oh, I want your little bathroom set in my bathroom, or this kind of thing. So most
cute.
Is just for my own enjoyment. Talking about before having dealt with depression in the past, and just there's a lot of negativity online,
Oh yeah.
And I kind of wanted to create this space that is silly and rainbows and cuteness and just happy, that can make like people smile when they log online. It's like, oh, this is so cute. That's what I do my photography for. It's just that happy place.
I love the whimsy in your photography, and then some of it's very whimsical and cutesy. Other photos, though, are just so majestic. I mean, and I think that you really kind of capture the beauty and the mystery and the essence of the animal. I mean, I've seen pictures of, I think it's your Doberman Pinscher, and they're just, I mean, Doberman Pinschers they're nice looking animals anyway, but just so beautiful, so majestic and regal. And one of my favorites is a Savannah, and it's wearing like a crystal necklace.
I had that custom made for her.
Oh my gosh, so not like a Savannah needs help looking spectacular, but oh my gosh. I don't know. I love all the seasonal stuff that you do. It's just amazing. And I've seen those on your Facebook page, but do you have a website where you post your photography or anything?
Not anymore. Now I just have the Brittney Gobble Photography Facebook page. And then, of course, if you're looking for my Servals or Savannahs, it's Sweetwater Savannahs. And then I still run the Lykoi Cats page, Lykoi Cats. It's just Lykoi Cat, though, if you're typing it in facebook.com/Lykoi.
And that's Lykoi, guys.
Lykoi.
Oh, yes, that's what I meant, actually. Okay, school teacher here. Um, I do know my alphabet, I promise. So have you guys reproduced any snakes yet?
No, but we're on egg watch right now. So
Ooh.
we had, I think at this point, 6 different females have locked multiple times, and 2 of them did their shed. So now we're just kind of waiting.
Ooh, the pre-lay shed. That's exciting.
Yes. So now I'm anxiously trying not to check all the time. But we did plug the incubator in today, so everything's like ready. And
I was just going to ask, what kind of incubator do you have?
okay, so obviously I'm from Tennessee, and obviously I have an accent. So we call, at least I'm told I have an accent.
You do.
Okay. So we call it the redneck rack and the redneck incubator.
All right.
We built our rack, and so we have like you said earlier, I bought some very, very expensive snakes. And so the running joke is that we bought all these expensive snakes and then we couldn't afford to buy a rack for them. That's the joke. But so we have this very redneck rack, but it works and it's safe and it's set up good. So they can't escape and the heat pads can't overheat. Well, the heat strip can't. All that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then our incubator is actually a refrigerator that he
completely. That's the best thing to make an incubator out of.
So it's fun. Eventually we probably will. And my hatchling rack is a purchased rack, so that it's all ready for the babies and that. But yeah, my big snake racks are just nice redneck ones.
That's hilarious. No, well, we have built a lot of caging throughout the years. Now, if you look through our room, it's pretty much just commercial racks. But our rat racks are still our custom built. It's just a wooden stand that a concrete tub slides in and out, and though they work so great that we have no reason to do anything different. Our mouse racks are all Freedom Breeder, and we love them, and we actually want to upgrade because we're seeing that Lindy's doing cooler and cooler things with all the new designs, because there's little issues that we have with flooding and stuff like that. Yeah. And I guess he's got all that done away with now. That amazing. The Johnsons are amazing. Jesse is like the, I don't know, HR public relations person, and he's amazing. I actually just sent him a tarantula. He mentioned that he wanted a tarantula, and so I was like, oh, I'll send you one. And so he has that little tarantula now, and it's he's all excited about it. And it was funny when he opened the box, they did like a little phone video, and everybody was like, which, I mean, it's like I forget that people that know reptiles still sometimes fear invertebrates. And then it also too, it's the other way around. There's people that deal with the most scary tarantulas or scorpions or whatever, but get a snake around them and they lose their mind. And I don't know, I guess I forget sometimes.
Well, my daughter, she wanted a tarantula. My middle child loves any kind of invertebrate, anything. I mean, that is her jam. She loves them. So we went to a reptile show, and there was a beautiful pink toe female, and she was about, I don't know if you can see, but she's about that big. I mean, a pretty good size female. And so we bought her for her. So my little daughter is carrying, and my daughter is very, very cute, like the little. And so he's carrying this little thing around this show, and all these people, these women keep saying, oh, honey, you're so cute. And then they're like, what did mommy and daddy get you? And she's like, see? And, she would hold it, and they'd scream. And she loved it even more then. But, so now that girl, she got out once. They forgot to clip the lid on it. Of course, we had to correct that. But she got out and she just will go behind the dresser. And then if she's hungry, she just comes right out and you pick her up and you put her back in. It's no big deal, right? Well, they mentioned to my mom, who doesn't do animals, and my mom had stopped by and they're like, just be careful where you step, because they said, because she's out right now. And my mom goes, who's out? Because my mom's always afraid to come to my house because she doesn't know what new thing is going to run through. And she said, my tarantula, the big one, is out. And my mom tripped over my kids running for the front door. And then she gets out in my yard and she yells at me. And she's like, I'm not coming back until you find it.
That is so funny.
And I love their little paws. They look like
they are so cute. They have the cutest little feet. They're so sweet. So speaking of cute little puppy dog faces and whatnot, I saw your leucistic hognose that came in. I want to know all about her and your hognose collection.
All right. So we got the hognose, let's see, early last year, I believe, or the end of the year before. I'm sorry. I got 2 puppies this past week, and I'm not sleeping, obviously.
Oh, what kind of puppies?
They're called Lagotto Romanolos, and they're an ancient Italian truffle breed because we have a truffle farm, the black truffles that you shave on food. And, so these pigs or these dogs can hunt them. And so we imported a male from Bulgaria a couple months ago, and now we just brought in 2 little girls from Bulgaria.
Wow.
Mel is a year and a half old, and he's just a dream. But the girls are so sweet and so smart, but they're puppies, and you know how puppies are when you're working with them.
So are you guys going to be breeding those?
If they pass all the health testing. But again, very, very small scale and probably only a couple of litters. We do plan to travel in the next few years. But where we were stuck is we have 2 truffle farms. We have the truffle, I'm going to call them truffle trees, but they're actually oak and hazelnut, and they've had the spores put on the roots. So we have like a ½ acre on our home, but then we have about 30 minutes from our house, we bought a farm, and we have a bunch of trees there. Our home property can be producing, it could have produced last year during the truffle season, and we wouldn't have known because we didn't have a dog to hunt it.
Oh, wow.
Big farm won't be ready to produce for another 4 to 5 years, most likely. So by getting the male, we have a male that can hunt now, but he'll be getting older by the time our farm is ready. So our thought was kind of get the little girls. The kids have wanted, puppies. These are a good size breed. They don't shed. They could travel with us in the car to most of the places. We like to hike and lake and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those are things that these dogs love to do and can do with you. So that was kind of the idea, is in a couple of years, if they pass all the health testing, the hips, the full physical, then we may at that point consider having a litter or 2 and raising them, because there's so few in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
And raising the truffle farm to work with the truffles. So kind of,
So how do you train a dog to truffle hunt?
Well, my Doberman I actually trained, and but he's not very good at it, because he's on it and he'll run out there and he'll spot, and then he's like, oh, it's a horse. I haven't seen a horse since last week. And then he runs. So they don't have the endurance. The truffle dogs are a breed that was specifically bred for long endurance. So they will work slowly but work all day. Whereas a Doberman is like, boom, get the job done, and now I'm done. Let's go lay on the couch together.
Right.
But basically truffle dogs are pretty much on it. I mean, they are so bred now that even at 6 weeks old, if you put a truffle in the room, the puppies will immediately start trying to find it, even on out training. But typically when you're working with them, you'll take little cups and you drill holes in the top of the cup and put a piece of a truffle in it. And then you go bury them out throughout the yard or whatever. And then you tell them to go find it. You give that command, and then you work with them. And as they find it, they dig it up, you give them a treat. And they're like, oh, okay, so that smell means I get a treat.
Right.
Find it. So it's like a game of hide and seek.
So, and a truffle is a type of mushroom, is it not?
Yes, it is.
So but they never grow above ground?
No. Occasionally one might get unearthed a little bit, but typically they're 5 to 6 inches underground. So you still
Wow.
have to have an animal to dig them up. And a lot of people are like, well, why didn't you get a pig? But the pigs, it's actually female pigs that hunt them because the truffle has a musky smell that smells
Uh-huh.
like male pig or
Hmm.
boar, and the females will find them, but you have to be fast because the females will eat them. The
Mm.
dogs will sometimes eat them, but normally the dogs are slower about it because they want the treat that you have rather than the
Yes.
truffle they just dug up. So
Hmm.
it's neat. It's a very cool breed if you look it up. It was actually a lake dog, and they would do duck hunting with them. But then the marshes of Italy were drained, and when they drained those marshes, the dogs didn't have a job, and the breed nearly died out. So then a few breeders got together and started training them to hunt these truffles. And when they started doing that, again, the breed had a job, and they were able to work them and bring the breed back from extinction, which was really cool.
That's so now I want to know how you seed the roots with the fungus spores.
It's a secret procedure that they don't tell anybody. So you
Oh,
have to actually buy the trees with them already on the spores.
interesting. So
Yeah.
are all of those viable or is it just a percentage that then produce in the future?
It depends. So the gentleman that we bought ours, there's two main guys that you can buy them from, the trees that are inoculated. The guy that we bought them from, he inoculates them and then he puts it under a microscope and checks each tree before he sends it out.
Hmm.
Whereas the other gentleman, he just does them all and he knows there's like the very small percentage that doesn't have them, but
Right.
so small that he doesn't care. And you
Mhm.
pay a little bit less for those. In our
Okay.
case, we chose to pay a little bit more and go ahead and have that assurance that every single tree had them. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean every tree will produce them because they can, depending on the soil and, like our field, one area would get more water than another area of that
Right.
field. That area that has too much water may not produce as well as a different area or vice versa, depending, on how much water we're getting that year.
Exactly.
Now, the good thing is their roots, as they grow, intertwine. So even if a tree didn't have truffles on it, that
Oh.
crossover. Basically, it contaminates them, but it's yummy contaminants, so that's great.
Interesting. So, is that parasitic to the tree at all? Does it hurt the tree in any way?
It doesn't hurt the tree, but it does make the production, like, okay, for instance, like I said, hazelnuts. Everybody's like,
Mhm.
oh, now you can have all these hazelnuts. And sure, we do get hazelnuts, but they're a lot smaller because the
Okay.
tree is putting more into the root system than it is into, I guess, fruit. I don't know what, I mean, producing the nuts, but that's.
Right. Interesting. Okay, I think I got sidetracked.
Yes,
Hognose.
hog nose, hog
About
nose.
your hognose.
Okay, so when we started with the hog nose, we were really, really in love with the triple A's, which are the Arctic albino anacondas.
Yes.
And so we love those. We bought a boy and girl, and then a couple of girls to go with the male. And then I bought a sable female, which of course is that dark chocolatey color, and
Yes.
a het male to go with her. So we had those, and then we got into the ball pythons and kind of went a little crazy. So we didn't expand our hog nose. But then we kind of started, well, maybe we want a little something more for our hognose collection. And I saw a picture of a leucistic, a Lucy, last year. And so I've kind of been stalking them since then. And so we decided this spring that, let's go ahead and take the leap and get one. So she's pretty exciting. Funny story though, we talked to the gentleman the night before and he's like, okay, this is her weight. And, kind of talked about the gene and that kind of thing. And then we said, okay, well, he said, I'll send you some pictures. Well, the next day I was actually in the ER and I'm sitting there and my husband calls and he's like, yeah, go ahead, let's buy her. So I messaged him because he posted her for sale. And I
Yeah.
messaged him on Facebook and I messaged him on text messaging. But I don't think he'd made the connection with our last name
Oh
that
yeah.
it was the same person. So I texted him and said, we want her. How do we pay you? And then I messaged him on Facebook and said, I sent you a text message too, but we want her. So he texts me back and says, she's sold. And I'll call you later tonight for payment. And then he messages me on Facebook and says, I'm sorry, she already sold. And I was like, oh. But I said, please tell me you sold her to me. And he's like, oh, yeah, I did sell her to you.
Actually, I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations after all.
So she's a feisty little thing. My friend has an albino cobra, and I know there's a fancy name for it, and I don't know it because I don't know much about venomous snakes. But I'm so in love with it. I just love that. I'm like, I'm his. I think I'm that Snakes fan club. I'm pretty sure. And so now my little pink hognose, you know, when she does her little cobra, you know, she flattens her head.
Yeah.
So I took a picture and sent it to my friend. I'm like, look, I got me a faux cobra.
Oh, that is so cute. So you have all kinds of faux stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
Got a faux fox, faux cobra. Now all you need is a spirit hood.
I know, and you're making it. I saw those, I guess, a few months back, and now, of course, you're really making me need one.
Well, okay, so here's the funnest part. So it's a hood, and they're so cute. And so obviously it's faux fur, but the designers and the engineers went all out to make this fur so realistic and so beautiful. And it's really soft. It's got a liner, and some of the liners are just solid. I liked the one that looked kind of realistic, but there's ones with like galaxy and all different designs. And so then it's a scarf if you like, or however you want. And then of course it has the pockets. They spelled it PAWKIT. So you've got your little pockets, and they're just so much fun. And also, look how beautiful. It has a button.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it has so like this is the red fox hood.
Yeah.
And a little loop. So if you want to, if there's a chilly wind or whatever, you can button it, or then, when you go in
nice.
or whatever. And also, have I sold you yet?
Yes. I need like 10.
Yeah. There's a zipper pocket.
Oh.
So there goes your phone, your money, whatever you need, so you can run around, leave your purse at home.
I hate carrying a purse. So that'd be really
well, and imagine if you're like going to a concert or something, and or even to me, even the movies, or you don't want to carry your bag around. Your phone could go in here, a couple of bucks, your debit card, your ID. And so it's just so sweet. So they have tons of different designs, and then they do big blankets and all kinds of stuff. And of course, my favorite part is after you purchase, you get to choose which conservation agency you want your 10% to go. So they have their prices, and as soon as you pay, they donate 10% to different exotic animal conservation groups. And yeah, so I'm a Spirit Hood ambassador now, so I'm so excited about that, because I've had my eye on these for a while. And it was really funny because they agreed to take me on as an ambassador this winter, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for my Spirit Hood. And then they were like, sure, send us your address, pick your hood. And I was like, well, the red fox is my favorite, but I really like the rabbit one, and I really like the husky one. And so I'm like, okay, send me the red fox. Didn't hear back. Winter's ending. And I actually, before I went to the NARBC in Arlington, I was like, I'm going to a show, and that'd be like a really great place. Like, there's going to be thousands of people. If I get my hood before then, I could be like showing it off. Nothing back. So I was like, all right, well, they're so busy, and all this stuff. And I'm probably their smallest ambassador. They don't usually take people on below that have fewer than 100,000 subscribers. They work with big social influencers. I'm pretty small still. And so I thought, well, that's okay, So I emailed them another time about something else. I don't remember, a question or something. And then finally they got back, and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. She said, suddenly your replies were going to our junk folder. She goes, so I asked you for your address, and then you went dark, so we didn't hear back from you again. So she's like, I'm going to get your Spirit Hood out to you right away. And so I just got it. And yesterday was my birthday. So I was like, yeah, it was cold outside. And so, yeah, everybody go and get a Spirit Hood, spirithood.com.
That's
So, yes, I love your hognose. I love your snakes. I love your kitties. What are your plans for the future? What are your new goals?
well, I want to make some multiple recessive ball pythons, obviously.
Yes.
And now I'd like to produce a leucistic hognose.
Oh man. Well, I'll
Um,
be on the waiting list for that one for sure.
I know they're so amazing. So we're excited about that. We don't really know. We've got the puppies now, and we've kind of. I'm working on him. I kind of feel like I need blue tongue skinks.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, I need them. I'm pretty sure I really need them. So
You do. I think you do.
so I don't know. We'll see, but mostly right now focusing on the ball pythons. This year's not as many exciting breedings, just because I'm still waiting for several of the snakes to get big enough. Not going to push them or anything like
Right.
that. But I have a few that I'm going to be making, like some het enhancers and things like that. And if my girls don't grow follicles, I might actually have my het monsoon girls are big enough to breed, but I need my male to get a little bit bigger. So if they wait a few more months, I actually might get to make a monsoon this year. But it's not going to be I'm really excited about some of the other genes I want to put into it. So those plans are like 3 years down the road.
Multi-generational, yeah.
Yeah.
So, tell us some of the worst and best things about being a reptile breeder.
Nobody told me how big ball python poop was.
That's true. Yeah.
And then I watched Brian Cusco's video where he was cleaning his big snake tanks. I was like, that is really big poop. So, yeah. I did not actually realize. You were gone.
Oh, I was watching you.
Oh, I couldn't see you. And I was like, well, she must be gone. I'm going to take a drink then.
You're fine. Okay, so Brian Cusco's big poop. Tell us about that.
Yeah, he did a cleaning video where he put his camera inside the snake tank while he cleaned it.
Oh,
and
that's
the
funny.
poop on his big snakes was so huge. I was like, oh my goodness. But still, ball python poop was surprisingly large.
That is funny. Yeah, my big retics, they leave some big old piles behind. I mean, they're like giant. Yeah, that's some big. That's some big
sometimes it's like I almost want to take a picture because I'm proud of them. But
it's interesting. Science is amazing.
And I was surprised that you know how cats. I don't know if you own cats.
Yes.
Okay. And you know how if you clean their litter box, they immediately go poop in the litter box?
Right, of course.
Okay, so ball pythons essentially do the same thing.
They do.
You clean it, and as soon as you clean it the next day, they've pooped again, and it's usually even worse than it was the day before. And I'm like, wow, they're little jerks too. I love them to death, but
oh yeah. Well, yeah, it actually has to do with them scenting their enclosures because it feels like a very foreign, alien, unsafe environment when their scent is completely gone. So what some people do, some people take out all the substrate, I don't know what kind of substrate you use, and like scrub down the tank. And we actually don't do that. We just put in clean substrate unless there's uric acid or fecal matter on the tank that's like gone through the substrate, then we do. Or if anybody even thinks they might be looking sick or, if anything looks amiss at all, or if it's just been too wet and we think that there might be some bacterial growth or even potential bacterial growth, we scrub it out. But a lot of people find if they don't like deep clean every time, their snakes seem more comfortable and don't feel that need to immediately poo and scent everything. What kind of substrate do you guys use?
We've been using the paper, but we actually just got a huge shipment of the Reptiles Safe Pure Cypress. So I'm actually trying to Cypress. So I'm assuming it'll get better because I'll just be cleaning out the dirty area.
Exactly.
The paper, you have to take the whole thing out. You kind of have a choice about that. And then my guess, going back to your question, one of my favorite things beyond just, I mean, it's like living with art. I mean,
Yes.
the snakes and the lizards, the reptiles in general, it is truly living art. They're just so beautiful, and it's exciting having the potential of creating an art piece. You know, almost like painting or taking a photograph, or it's an art form.
Yes, absolutely.
So I love that because just there's so much joy and peace just to go sit and just look, open a bin and be like, wow, so beautiful. And the other thing is the community. Honestly, I know that anytime that there's people involved, there can be drama, there can be, gossip, and that's just the way humans are.
Right.
Really and truly, the reptile community has been absolutely across the board incredible. I mean, just so encouraging. I've had so many people message me that I don't know that are just like, hey, let us help you get badges to come into a show. Let us, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to message us. We're here anytime. Just so many offers of help and, that kind of thing. It's just really amazing. And then just a lot of friendship and encouragement and, you're doing good. We like what you're doing. It's just, I love the community. I mean, all in all, the community's just been amazing.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. This is one of our silly little rescues. She's funny. She thinks she's the boss. So if anybody holds on to her or does something, she gets a little cross about it. But well, this is Kira. Oh, thank you. But we call her Little Mouse, and she likes to boss my Mastiff around. And she was just getting up on my chair, so I was like, sure. She's funny. She was from the hood. She was taken off the streets, the mean streets of Roswell. But she's funny. We do videos with her sometimes where it's just like viewer comments and announcements and stuff. We call them the Mousy Moment. And we haven't done any in a little while because we've been so swamped. But that's interesting what you're saying about the cat community versus the reptile community, because I've had a similar experience with the invertebrate community versus the reptile community. And it's funny because I've actually been in it pretty heavy since the 90s. But I mean, before the internet and stuff, unless you were like a famous author or like the top breeder, we didn't all know each other's names unless it was somebody who lived in your area, or there wasn't the massive network that there is now. So I would just kind of laid low, and I mean, we had our little circle of friends and everything, but I wasn't famous, or I don't know. I would say I really don't know how well I am known. Sometimes I'm surprised by who knows who I am. But the fact that I go to another state or city and people say, is that really you? Well, at least somebody knows who I am. So it was interesting because we started our channel, I think in 2013, maybe. Christmas time, right at the end of the year. So this is like, I don't know, I think this is our 6th year. And so a lot of people kind of thought that I was new to it at that time. And I really wasn't. I was just a little more quiet about it. Right. But our channel, when we started, so my husband, who's also my producer, he and I kind of came up with a game plan, and he said, well, let's, we were doing it together. He said, but let's have you be the face, because there aren't any other female YouTubers that are doing tarantulas that we could find at that time. And tarantulas are a smaller niche, so that'd be maybe an easier place to kind of get established. There's so much content out there, it's difficult to be discovered. So then we only were showing tarantulas for a long time. And then primarily we would show other stuff on occasion. But then starting a year or two ago, I started showing a lot more of my reptiles. And a lot of people, and I just kind of, we've done all this stuff, so I forget that people just don't know. And so a lot of people were saying, oh, well, I didn't even know that you kept snakes. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually the main part of what we do. Our hundreds of invertebrates, that's just one little corner of our room. And but for years we encountered a lot of resistance from the invertebrate world, and people hating and being mean, and still just making very sexist remarks. And I don't mean like, she should just go do porn because this bitch is an idiot. um, and other equally ignorant things. And so, on the other hand, people in the reptile and no one in the invertebrate world would wanted to collaborate with me. No one.
Really?
Well, I started doing these hangouts because we're in such a remote area. I thought, well, if we're going to collaborate with people, if we really want to, there's no one around here. We just need to start doing stuff online because, a lot of people in the reptile world want to work with us, but,
Right.
they may not have the time or energy to drive to New Mexico, take a week off work or whatever. And, like here, you're at your house, I'm at my house, and
Yeah.
we're doing our thing. So it's funny because every single person I've asked has been more than excited to collaborate with me from the reptile community. Invert, mm-mm. And there are threads and threads on different forums about groups of people that hate me and just, talk about, oh, I'm such an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, then how have I been reproducing these animals for years and years? How am I showing videos over the course of several years of animals growing up and thriving and reproducing? And this is my, generation 2 of this species. I mean, it's just, basically cattiness, people being mean. And then other people say, oh, well, they're just jealous. I don't know what it is, but it's not support and it's not love like I get from the reptile community. So it's wonderful, and I love meeting other ladies, of course, just like sisters. I don't know.
Yay!
So yeah, I was so excited to even get in touch with you on Facebook. I love Savannah so much. The Lykois are interesting. Hognose and ball pythons are incredible. And so I love seeing your pictures. I love seeing your posts. I think it's neat that your husband's a vet. And we have a lot in common. You model, and I don't know.
Only a little bit. I usually have to get dragged in front of a camera. I was so nervous about this because, at least with Chris Eaton, I just was like on the phone and nobody could see me. I hate being in front of the camera, so I stay behind it. But I've done a little bit and it was fun. But now I want to ask you, you're a belly dancer?
I am.
Yes. Okay. So about 7 years ago, I did belly dancing.
Ooh.
I loved it. So I'm hoping to go back soon. But
yeah, you definitely need to. If nothing else, it's an amazing workout and it's so fun. And so were you like taking a class, or tell me about it?
Oh yeah. I took private lessons from an instructor here that travels around the US and actually teaches at these big workshops that the big teachers get together and do, apparently.
Ooh.
So I did, my favorite piece was a bell solo that I did. And, because I'm tall, I'm 5'8" and I have a little bit too long of arms, I got to get a really long bell.
Ooh.
So a lot of fun. And then I performed once with her troupe. Most of my dances were solos.
Okay.
One piece that was called the Dueling Drums.
Ooh.
And so me and another girl got to kind of compete against each other, where we like do a move and then be like, "Huh, now you do it,"
Oh, cute.
I was like, when I saw your photos of you in the belly dance, I was like, oh, she does belly dance too.
Yes. So who was your instructor?
I can't remember her last name, but her first name or her belly dance name is Debka, and she's an older lady. She's been doing it for a lot of years, but she's a funniest little redhead. I mean, like little short lady, and she knows her stuff. I hope I'm like that when I'm an older lady.
So, were you getting trained? It sounds like maybe American tribal style.
Yes, mostly American tribal. She liked to mix it up a little bit, but she definitely was more like one of the steps perfect, wanted everything exactly,
Oh yeah, that's ATS for sure.
Yeah, like for instance, one time when we were in this class and we were just doing a group class because we were all working together on this one dance, a dance. There was another class going on near us, a pop class, and they started playing. I don't know if you remember, but "Buttons" by the Pussycat Dolls.
Oh, of course.
It has that very kind of beat that would be perfect for dancing.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, all of us who are like being clumsy because this was one of the early classes that pops on. We're going for it now. We're like. And she got so upset and she went like slammed the door and told the people to turn their music off. It was hilarious. But yeah, no, she was very, very strict on perfect style, perfect step, perfect hands. So it was fun though. I really
you'll have to show me your moves sometime.
I want to see yours too. Now,
definitely. I have a couple dance videos posted.
I'll have to look them up then, or send me a link, or tag me.
Okay, I will. So I'm trained in American tribal style, but more than that, tribal fusion, flamenco, gypsy fusion, which is like a Spanish belly dance fusion, different styles, several different styles. And then, of course, it made sense to start dancing with snakes. So
I saw those pictures.
I'm the only snake dancer that I know of in New Mexico that's an actual belly dancer. I know that there are like exotic style dancers that kind of incorporate snakes. On occasion, I've seen like those acts in Vegas and stuff, and the women are beautiful and amazing, and the snakes are gorgeous, but they just kind of hold it for a second. Like even in that Britney Spears video that's so famous, or even the Selma Hayek scene in From Dusk Till Dawn, they hold the snake for a minute and then take it off and dance. Yes. I do whole dances with snakes. Not to say I'm better than they are, but I love dancing so much. I love yoga. I love dance. I enjoy modeling. I don't always like being in front of the camera, and I'm getting older, but
aren't we all?
Oh gosh. Well, you look amazing. I don't know how old you are, but you're absolutely.
I'm 32.
Oh God, you're young. Okay. Okay.
You're younger than me. I thought
no, I'm not. Not by a long shot.
And my husband, I don't know if you heard Chris Eaton's interview with me, but my husband's older than me. So
I did, but I don't remember him saying anything about that.
Maybe he clipped it out. Yeah, my husband's 17 years older than me.
Oh, is he? Oh.
Yeah. So you wouldn't know it like if you meet us though. My husband has so much more energy than me. So yeah, we're good.
My husband is 7 or 8 years older than me, but he looks, I guess we both look kind of young for our age. So it's funny when people find out how old we are, or that we have like older kids, they're like, how old are you guys? Which is good. It's good.
So
go ahead.
I was gonna say one time we came to Arizona and we were on a vacation, and we're cool with like making jokes about it. We don't really think about it, but if we do, we'll crack a joke. Like my mother-in-law and my mom were sitting there griping about, as you're a woman and you're aging, things drop, things don't look like they looked before. And I sat there on the couch and smirked. And they looked at me and said, well, you don't need to smirk because you may be young now, but it's going to happen to you too. And I said, no, I've got this covered. And I said, because he's older than me. As my looks go, so will his eyesight. And and they weren't happy with me. But
that's hilarious.
One of our funny stories, though, is we went to Arizona, and I had my camera around my neck. And this strange guy we were in an art gallery. He walks up and he picks my camera up off my chest, right? And I'm like, this is like a little weird.
Yeah.
And he said, how can you afford that? And he said, I'd have to mortgage my wife, my dog, and my house to afford that camera. Well, the truth was, for a while, I collected handmade Asian ball joint dolls from Korea.
Oh.
And they were limited edition, and I resold them at a profit and bought my camera gear. But, like, who's going to actually believe that, right? So I sat there, and I just heard crickets in my head, a total blind moment. And me and my husband have never cracked this joke, but I just looked at the guy, and I said, he's my sugar daddy. Like that. Like, just completely, like, just straight.
Randomly.
Yeah, and so the guy's mouth drops open, and he looks at me like, I can't believe she just admitted that. And I look over at my husband, because again, we've never cracked this joke, so I don't even know what his reaction is going to be. My husband, like that, like all corny.
That is funny.
So then the guy, I said, no, I'm just joking. And I said, he married me. I said, I married him for his looks, and he married me for my money. And and then the guy, he just like starts backing away slowly, like this chick has lost it.
He's like, she's more than I bargained for.
Yeah, I laughed pretty hard about it though. So we like to mess with people.
I think sometimes you've just got to throw people off their toes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that you do that very well. Oh, goodness. Yeah. So I just think that you're an amazing, interesting person. I'm so glad we got to visit today. Let's see. I keep looking over here to make sure nobody has the specific questions for you. Somebody's saying GOT tonight because I think people know I'm a Game of Thrones fan. And I actually got a Game of Thrones shirt yesterday. So I was wearing that plus this. And it did look very medieval. So,
wow.
Yeah. And so somebody's saying GOT tonight. Hello, everyone. Saying this and that, just kind of visiting with each other. But
cool.
Yeah, I just think you are so incredible. So I was going to ask, what's next for the Gobble Farm, but it sounds like so many things that you probably couldn't sum it up, and maybe you don't even know exactly.
We never know. It's always an adventure. There's just always something that we're going to get into. But right now we're kind of happy with, where we're at. And so I think the only other big exciting thing that is going to be going on this year is they're finally going to finish making my mermaid tail. So I can.
Ooh, what brand?
It's a Finfolk.
Oh, yay. Those are awesome.
I got to swim in a Merbella tail in Mexico. I went down there with a mermaid, and we swam in the cenotes in Mexico, and it was amazing. And we freaked people out, which was totally awesome.
Yeah.
Because, of course, they're so realistic. And
I
was wearing a tail, so it looked like it was black and silver, and you couldn't see it until it moved a certain way. And then all of a sudden there was, So I would wait for people to be swimming innocently, and then I would just like come up because we were free diving about 30 foot down. And then we just scared the living daylights out of them, which was awesome.
Perfect. That sounds amazing.
But it takes a long time when you're having a custom tail made. So I've been waiting since 2016. And so we're finalizing everything right now, and I should have my tail in the next couple of months. So I'm really excited.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm definitely going to be looking out for pictures of that. You'll have a faux tail too.
I will. I really into the faux stuff.
My daughter was obsessed with one of those mermaid tails. She's like part mermaid. She was, I was going to say she was born in water. I guess everyone kind of was, but no, she loves to swim. She's a natural swimmer, and I don't know, maybe I should have stayed on the coast because she seems like she comes from the ocean or something, but she actually made a couple of her own tails. I bought her a tail at one point when she was like 12 or 13, but it was just basically like a spandex, like a bathing suit material with like a little swim flipper in it, real generic, but she loved it and she used it to death. And then she was like, I'm going to make my own. And she went through several different prototypes and models. She's a little engineer. She's in college, but she's amazing. So she's going to die when I'm going to show her your pictures of your tail. And then she's going to probably get re-obsessed.
Hey, what can you do? It was interesting, though, when we were swimming in Mexico, that the kids were afraid of us, even when we were just like hanging out and being like, here, come touch it. The kids were terrified, but all the parents wanted to do selfies with us.
Oh, that's
true. Kids would be like, come on, take a picture with the Sirena, and they would be like, no.
Oh, someone just poked me on the head who's obsessed with mermaid tails. I guess she's excited about seeing your tail. Well, everybody's going to have to check out the Spirit Hood website, spirithood.com. Check out Brittney Gobble. Now, I'm guessing anybody can follow you on Facebook. I don't know if you accept everybody. I'm at my limit for friends. So sadly, I have thousands of people waiting, which I just have to tell them to follow me. So how can people contact you or keep up with you socially?
they can follow me on Facebook. I do still accept a lot of friend requests.
Okay.
Unless they're creepy, you know. I
Yeah.
don't know, creepy thing.
Yeah. No creepers allowed.
No creepers allowed. But then my photography, if they're interested in that, is Brittney Gobble Photography on Facebook.
Okay.
Our actual website for our reptiles is gobblesgoblins.com. So GOBBLINS Oh wait, I can't spell.
Goblin. Okay.
No. Goblins basically has two B's in it, just like goblins.
Okay, so, got it.
LESGOBBLINS. So
that's cute.
And then, like I said, Sweetwater Savannahs on Facebook is our Savannah page.
Do you have an Instagram?
I have like 6 Instagrams. So my photography Instagram is Kittens and Captures.
Okay.
And it has a K in it.
Okay.
Just, all these random animal photos. And then I have the Lykoi one, which is Lykoi Cats with an S, LYKOICATS. And then my reptiles is Gobbles Reptiles, and Sweetwater Savannahs.
Awesome.
So those are the main ones.
I'll list all these in the description box, guys, and so you all can find those. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a beautiful, stunning, amazing, intelligent Miss Brittney Gobble of Sweetwater Savannah. And so do you have a separate name for your Lykoi business, or is that in with Sweetwater Savannahs?
Like I said, that one's just Lykoi Cats. We were always just Lykoi Cats. Our cattery name across the board was Sphinx, Lykoi, which we don't do the Sphinx, and we just retired from Lykoi. But Lykoi and Savannahs was actually Gob's Goblins was our cattery name. But just with the Lykoi, we just went ahead and went with Lykoi Cats because we were the first Lykoi Instagram.
Yeah, you guys are the original Lykoi breeders.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we went with Sweetwater Savannahs because we're in Sweetwater and it kind of rhymed, So.
Yeah. Alliteration.
Yes, I guess not.
What was I going to ask you? Oh, poof, it's gone. I don't know. You're amazing. How do you find time? You've got kids. Do your kids love it? Are they interested?
My son likes frogs and toads, and that's the limit. He's really not keen on any of the other animals. My daughters love it. Like I said, my middle daughter, that's my 7-year-old, she's the one that's into invertebrates. She has cockroaches and, the tarantulas, and she'd have a lot more if we let her. And then my oldest daughter loves the snakes, but she's also more into the cuddly, the cats and the dogs and things with hair. So...
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be linking all of Brittney's accounts. Everybody who is here live, thank you so much for watching and chiming in and visiting with each other. For those of you, like I said, watching this after the fact, if you have questions for Brittney, you can find her on Facebook or list them below and I can pass them on to her. Brittney Gobble, she's amazing. She's fantastic. She's beautiful and wow. Need I say.
Friends.
Yes, I love her. I'm gonna give you 2 paws up. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you next time. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.